Watching News 3, the Southern Illinois news leader, live from WSIL TV in high definition. News 3 starts right now.
When the temperatures get this low, even the water meters can freeze.
Sub-zero temperatures are on the way. What you need to know to protect your home. Good evening. More schools are closed again tomorrow. You'll see them scrolling at the bottom of your screen as a brutal week of winter weather continues this evening. Parts of our region could dip well below zero tonight and into tomorrow morning.
Yeah, the extreme temperatures pose lots of threats, including frozen pipes, and it's something some across our region have had to deal with today. News 3's Matthew SEARCY got a look at the problem. Matt, this is pretty simple to avoid, isn't it?
Dennis, it can be. I spent the day with a local plumber who says we shouldn't take the severe weather lightly. He recommends people insulate their pipes and leave the water running, but he also had other tips we should know.
A few extra dollars on your water bill now could save you thousands on repairs later.
It can get very extensive if left unattended.
Bill Todd with A&W Plumbing in Murfreesboro says his trucks stay ready for the potential sub-zero temperatures and the extra business that goes along with it.
When the temperatures get this low, even the water meters can freeze because they're not really buried, they're just in a vault below ground.
On Wednesday, Todd and his workers got a call to the Carbondale Library after a busted pipe forced the library to close its doors. The problem comes up more than we think. Todd says if you discover a busted or frozen pipe, you can limit the damage.
You want to open the cabinet doors up and allow heat to enter the cabinet area and try to get some heat into that situation. You could use a blow dryer if it was confined to just that spot.
And he says we can also prevent frozen pipes and leaks. Hardware stores carry piping insulation, heaters, and faucet covers like these. And for outdoor spigots, Todd has a different solution.
You'd want to put like a styrofoam cover over that, or some of them have a valve inside back in the house that you can shut off and then open the faucet. It will let the water drain from the faucet, which will protect it from freezing.
Todd also offers other forms of protection. He says the recent snowfall may help keep pipes insulated.
I've found that with snow on the ground, the snow will insulate the ground so the frost won't penetrate the ground quite as deep. That will help affect your water line going to your house.
The Carbondale Library remained closed this evening. A witness reported seeing water leaking out of the walls and all over the floor. No timetable on when it will reopen. Live in the studio, Matthew SEARCY, News 3.
Thanks, Matt. That sounds pretty bad. Well, windy and freezing out there today, though the sunshine helped a little bit. Here's Jim with our first word on weather.
A very cold air started moving in again early this morning. It did bring with it a few snow showers. We measured another 1.5 inches here. We now have about 5.5 inches on the ground. Southern counties, much more than that, get closer to the Ohio River. In many spots still close to 1 foot of snow on the ground. That will lead to a very cold night as skies have cleared. It allows all that warmth to escape, and as we just heard, that snow insulating, holding that warm air in the ground. So we're looking for readings tonight, likely below zero for many of us right now. 10 in Mount Vernon, 14 in Marion. Poplar Bluff has dropped a couple in the last hour to 22. Projected numbers for tomorrow morning, and these are, this gets you close. We know that the Cape Girardeau number at the airport is going to be much lower because of the low setting thermometer there. But the number coming in from the models about 3 below, Mount Vernon 7 below. I think 5 to 6 below in southern Illinois, a pretty good number. But we will have wind chill. The winds are going to be with us tonight and again tomorrow. One other factor from the winds we've had, and we expect again tomorrow, blowing snow. Nick Housen joins us from outside. And Nick, I saw some of it today blowing back on roads that have already been cleared. We might see some scattered slick spots from that, right?
Of course, a fresh coating of snow early this morning. Most areas picking up about 1 inch, but really the last couple of snows have been that real fresh, fluffy snow out there, real light. And while it's not great for making snowmen, the one thing it really is good for is blowing all across the area and blowing all over the place, really. And it caused some issues across the area this morning, as some of that was blowing across roads. So roads that had already been cleared this morning saw more issues, especially throughout the afternoon, thanks to those very strong northwest winds pushing all of that snow across the area. Thankfully for this evening, we do expect those winds to calm down just a little bit. Of course, though, it is still going to be on the cold side, so this snow likely not going anywhere over the next 24 hours. Reporting live in Williamson County, Nick Housen, News 3.
Thanks, Nick. It has been a busy week for snowplow drivers, as Nick was just mentioning, and it looks like They may have a busy weekend with possible snowfall in the forecast. They face a variety of challenges outside of the cold weather. News 3's Anna Giles explains what you can do to make the plowing process in your neighborhood easier and safer.
This is our third day at this.
As many avoid the cold at all costs, Doug Corzine is in the midst of it, plowing the driveways you pull out on so your day can go on.
Most people could get out, but then there were quite a few drifts in front of garage doors and things, and people were having a difficult time.
Corzine, who owns Grassworks in Marion, says battling winter weather doesn't stop at getting your property plowed. There's more you need to look out for, and it's not always easy to see.
Even though the driveway might look clear, you need to give it some time because it can still be very slick, and if they're trying to walk out to their mailboxes, they need to be very careful.
Ice has been a big problem for residents this year because of low temperatures. Efforts to battle it, futile.
At these temperatures and these wind chills, the chemicals they're putting down and the chemicals that you could buy at any of the department stores and things do very little good when it gets this cold.
Ice is always harder to bust up and get through.
Drake Schmeiderer plows snow for Clearly Cut Lawn Care in Carbondale. He says an even bigger struggle than ice is traffic.
A lot of people don't give us enough space, and we always have to watch our back ends even when we can't see out of whatever we're operating.
Schmeiderer says he usually faces this problem plowing apartment complexes.
You get people like always in and out, so you can't always clean the whole lot.
Just trying to get off the roadway enough for people to get by. It's very difficult because a lot of streets are just almost one lane at this point.
These plowers are tired.
After 3 days, I think we're all ready to be through with it.
But they've seen it all and have one last tip on what drivers should look out for.
It tends to be very slick at the end of their driveways and make sure they've got plenty of traffic room to be able to pull out onto the roadway because sometimes traction's an issue.
Anna Giles, News 3.
Now, snowplow drivers say it's important to routinely check your driveway for ice, some of which might be buried under the snow. They say the best way to handle it is bust it with a shovel and add road salt on top of it. And remember to stay with us, News 3 on the air, online, and social media for the very latest on the winter weather's impact. You can look for updates at WSILTV.com as well as Facebook and Twitter.
To the crime watch now. Police in Murfreesboro have a suspect in custody tonight in a shooting at an apartment tower earlier today. Shots rang out about 1 this afternoon at the King Willis Apartments on 7th Street. Police tell us gunfire hit 34-year-old Thomas Watson of Chicago in the chest. Paramedics took Watson to St. Joseph Hospital and later to St. Louis. Investigators later arrested 19-year-old LaMarcus Spillers of Murfreesboro. They haven't said yet what led to the shooting. This Carbondale man will head to prison for shooting another man outside a school. Omari Tinsley pleaded guilty to aggravated battery with a firearm and got 25 years behind bars. Investigators say Tinsley shot a man outside the Rebound School in Carbondale in January of 2014. The victim caught Tinsley beating up his son, a student at the school. Tinsley ran from the scene. Police didn't catch up with him for more than 2 weeks. Court documents call for Tinsley to serve at least 85% of his 25-year sentence.
A Graves County couple is behind bars tonight after investigators say they exposed a baby to meth. Authorities were called to Jackson Purchase Medical Center yesterday after an 11-month-old tested positive for the drug. Gregory Pinnell and Stephanie Gregory admitted smoking meth with the child in their bed. Sheriff's deputies found meth inside the couple's home. In addition to child endangerment charges, Pinnell and Gregory also face drug charges.
Illinois Governor Bruce Rauner took center stage today, laying out his first budget since taking office. The proposal calls for lots of cuts the governor calls difficult. News 3's Stephanie Tierpak is here with a close look at the budget. Stephanie, how does this Republican governor plan to get the Democrats to sign on to this spending plan of his?
Well, he will have to make some deals to get the budget signed into law, and the two sides did not get off to the best start. Rauner wants to cut billions of dollars out of the state's deficit without raising taxes for now.
The budget outlined today is the budget Illinois can afford.
Republican Governor Bruce Rauner began his budget address with the bad. The road for next year's budget looks rough, and the state, close to running out of money, still must pay for key programs this year.
Our state prisons will start missing payroll in early April, making them unable to fulfill their most basic operations.
On the chopping block, universities would lose more than $380 million. Local governments would miss out on more than $600 million coming from the state. Cuts to Medicaid would also save more than $1 billion.
We plan to re-implement many of the Medicaid reform measures that were enacted just a few years ago.
But early childhood education and local schools could receive more funding, to the tune of about $325 million.
For years, state support for education has been cut, even when it didn't have to be.
Reining in the state's pension system could save about $2 billion.
All future work should be under the Tier 2 pension plan, except for our police officers and our firefighters.
But Democrat House Speaker Michael Madigan doesn't believe Rauner should bet on pensions.
The spending of anticipated savings, where I think the governor proposes to engage in conduct which I would consider to be reckless.
And Madigan does not agree spending less will help Illinois alone.
I think that the elimination of the deficits will require a blend. Service cuts plus new revenue.
Rauner's team says the cuts to higher education would represent about 6% of university budgets. SIU President Randy Dunn calls that the state average. He says for SIU, that would actually total about 15% of his budget.
Well, President Dunn said he and others have been preparing for these cuts for some time, so did this number surprise them?
Well, it did. It would mean the Carbondale campus alone would lose some $40 million. Dunn says there's no way they can make that up in tuition revenue.
That's a lot of money. Thanks, Stephanie. Well, coming up at 6, the bitter cold makes it very important to check on our neighbors, especially if they're elderly.
Plus, a happy reunion after this dog gets loose and falls through the ice of a pond. You're watching News 3 at 6.
You're watching News 3 at 6 with Dennis Turner, Jayla Gray, Chief Meteorologist Jim Razor, and Sports with Darren Kennard.
People in the Heron community are stepping up to help others during this winter storm.
Yeah, a local neighborhood crime watch group has a plan to check on the elderly. News 3's Evie Allen went out with them today as they made their rounds. Evie, what kind of things can they do for these folks?
Well, it's really as simple as anything they need, whether it's paying bills, a trip to the grocery store, or shoveling snow. Freezing weather brings a challenging time for agencies that devote their time to taking care of the elderly. But they have backup. Community members will fill in where they can.
Waking up to a snow-covered sidewalk in Heron was a bit surprising for Sue Evans.
I didn't know it was this bad this morning.
Her neighbor helped clear her driveway, but the help didn't stop there.
We're going to shovel your sidewalk for you so you and the kids can get out easier today.
Members of the Community Crime Watch have been going door to door to help check on the elderly.
It's just a blessing for somebody to come and know they care.
It's an older community. We do have an older generation here, and we want to make sure that they're not overlooked as well.
Since Monday's winter storm, the group has been keeping an extra eye out on grandmas and grandpas that may need assistance. Tuesday, the director decided to post a message to their Facebook page, letting people know they would be doing welfare checks.
Anyone that would need an errand run for them because they weren't able to get out, that they would to notify him, and then he would notify all of us that are out on patrol to do the welfare checks and run errands that needed to be done.
Bonnie Presley Gwaltney was happy to get the knock on her door. Her husband passed away 5 years ago and says she doesn't feel safe driving on the roads.
Young man across the street came over and he shoveled out before I can get my car out even.
It was more or less just that we're neighbors wanting to help neighbors in town.
It just made me feel good.
The group plans to continue assisting those in need. The director says they can be reached by their Facebook page, or you can call Heron Police and ask for the group. Live in the studio, Evie Allen, News 3.
Thanks, Evie. That's great. Well, days of freezing temperatures have created a layer of ice over several ponds in our area.
And there was a good scare at one of those ponds this morning when a dog fell through.
Come on, Jake.
A 7-year-old black lab fell in this pond just south of Benton around 8:30 this morning. The owner immediately called the Franklin County Animal Control Office. They worked for about an hour before rescuing the dog and getting him safely back to his owner. Officials and witnesses were glad to see the dog make it out safely.
Thank God he was a lab, you know, that helped him. He was a great swimmer. He had a very good shaped dog, and you could tell he'd been in the water before.
The feeling, the attitude in the air was joyous, and I'm really proud of the people that were here.
As of this afternoon, the dog Jake was safely at home with his owner. Well, the cold day outside didn't stop these kids from sledding in Craneville.
Boy, how much fun is that? It looks like the temperatures, though, will keep dropping with even more winter weather in the forecast. Jim breaks it all down coming up next.
Putting accuracy first, this is News 3 weather.
A very uncomfortable day to be outside. Cold air has been moving in since midnight. A quick check on temperatures through the day showed the high temperature for all of us coming at midnight while the snow was flying. Temperatures dropping off into the mid-teens this morning, staying in the teens here where we're looking at the numbers coming in from Jackson County and already starting to drop off this evening. It's looking more and more like we should expect record lows all across the region. The lows, or the record lows rather, are different in every spot. It really depends, again, sometimes on geography, on cloud cover and all sorts of things, but looking like almost every record locally going to fall. Our record for tomorrow morning is 5 degrees below zero. One of the factors we've been looking at all week long as we've approached this night and thought just how cold is it going to get. We've wondered what will the winds be like and what will the clouds be like. And even up till this afternoon, it had looked like we were going to see clouds hanging around that you can see watching the satellite, and a couple of bad frames there in the beginning. Skip through that, but you can see things have certainly cleared out tonight. That's going to allow any warmth that is around to escape, and temperatures are really going to drop and probably drop below where we see dew points right now. So looking like temperatures headed well below zero. A little wider view at temperatures. It's already 2 in Chicago, 5 in Indianapolis, 12 in St. Louis right now. Amarillo, the warm spot, coming in at 52 degrees. Our high of 26 didn't last very long. Our low was 14 today. Normal marks 27 and 46. Our record today, 10 degrees below zero, set in 1936. About 4/100ths after midnight. We had a little more than that before midnight in our rain gauge. All of that from the snow we melted. We picked up another 1.5 inches here. That was pretty general across the region. Harrisburg checking in at the middle school right now. Winds starting to die down a little bit. Another factor, the more the winds calm down, the lower the temperature has a chance to drop. 11 degrees there right now with a dew point of 0. All of the equations telling us the temperature is headed below zero. Skycast doesn't show much in the way of clouds, but a few are possible later tonight. If we get one spot, maybe even a county or two that picks up some cloud cover, temperatures will actually start to move back up for a little while. Those clouds break, the temperature will start to fall back off. So a little balancing act, and that's why it's difficult to say right here will be 4 below and right there will be 5 below. It's not going to work exactly like that. And by tomorrow evening, you can see clouds starting to move in southeast Missouri. Tomorrow night, I think light snow will start to move back in, and then we'll start to think about this storm system for the weekend. But for tonight, it's all about falling temperatures below zero after midnight. We're going to put 6 below on the board because our record is 5 below, and we think we're going to break the record here as well as records all across the region. And tomorrow afternoon, northwest winds 8 to 10. And temperatures only expected to top out around 13. Thursday night, the chance for snow moves in. Friday, that snow drops maybe an inch or two, then changes to sleet. Sleet changing to freezing rain Friday night, changing over to heavy rain. One of my biggest concerns with what we're looking at in the charts right now is the potential for significant flooding on Saturday. Frozen ground, melting snow, and heavy rain could be a real problem. Cold air moves back in and changes that back over to flurries for Sunday and Monday. Another round of very cold air expected to move in for next week.
Kind of a scary mix of things going on Saturday.
Yeah, it really is.
Thanks, Jim.
Well, health takes the spotlight on Thursday's News 3 this morning. Amy Flox explains it all from fitness to food.
New research shows there's often stress before and after a heart attack, making it difficult for a woman to fully recover. We'll have a cardiologist live in studio as Heart Health Month continues. And we have some food for thought this week. We're taking a look at healthy substitutes when it comes to baking. We'll see you right back here starting at 5 a.m.
Well, could the Chicago Bears get a new quarterback? Comments from the coach called Jay Cutler's future into question. We'll find out just ahead.
Plus, the Salukis sink further in the Missouri Valley Conference after last night's big loss to Wichita State. Darren explains what it means next in News 3 Sports.
This is News 3 Sports in HD.
After getting postponed earlier this week and a Saturday deadline looming, postseason girls basketball is on tonight. The 1A sectional at Gallatin County is underway with Carroll leading Galatia Thompsonville after 1. Gallatin County and Steelville will wrap up the night. The 2A sectional in Trenton is underway. Nashville
leads Benton 8-6 after 1. Carterville and Bree Central will be the nightcap. And it's semifinal night at Murfreesboro in the 3A Regional. Top seeded Massac County leads Heron 15-9 after 1. Murfreesboro and Carbondale will wrap up the night there. Now, 4 of the 5 boys games that were postponed last night and moved to tonight have been called off. El Dorado and Massac County will not have a makeup date. There are no makeup dates yet for ZR at Trico and Harrisburg at Carterville. Carrier Mills and NCOE will try again tomorrow. Now, Crab Orchard's game at Cobden tonight is still on. After last night's 22-point loss to Wichita State, the SIU men's basketball team has now lost 7 of 8. The Salukis are in last place in the Missouri Valley at 3-12, and they're relegated to the play-in game at next month's Missouri Valley Conference tournament. One bright spot for the Salukis has been the play of freshman Deion Lavender. He continued to produce last night, even in the loss, leading the team with 15 points. He also had 2 steals on the defensive end. Lavender believes the more familiar he gets with the college game, the more he'll be able to build on his recent success.
Just getting more knowledge about the game. I mean, the college game is completely different than high school. So as I started to get more knowledge and find out where spots are and find out where I need to be and make the game easier for myself, I think it'll be easier.
Lavender and the Salukis will try to bounce back Saturday when they travel to face Indiana State. Well, NFL coaches and general managers have made their way to Indianapolis for the annual pre-draft combine, including the new Chicago Bears regime of GM Ryan Pace and head coach John Fox. Each met with the media today. Each were asked about the future of quarterback Jay Cutler with the team. Each were mostly non-committal. Cutler set team and personal bests last year in completions, completion percentage, and touchdowns, but also was responsible for 24 turnovers.
I don't think there's any question, that there's ability and talent there, but there's a lot more that goes into it, and we're evaluating that as we speak.
Cutler's $15.5 million base salary for next year is guaranteed, and if he's still on the roster the third day of the new year, $10 million of his 2016 roster salary is on the hook there.
Frustration with fans and fantasy fans with Cutler.
So. He's got to be a little concerned tonight. All right.
Thanks, Darren. We'll be right back. Getting much colder out there.
It sure is. Below 0 is where we think we'll bottom out tonight. But looking at high temperatures tomorrow, Indianapolis is high 0. Ooh. Amarillo 72. The wind will blow in between around here. It looks like we'll start off below 0 and top out in the mid-teens.
Road trip back to Texas.
There you go.
Thanks, Jim. Well, that does it for us right now. Entertainment Tonight coming up next.
And we'll all be looking for you again tonight at 10.